Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here today on the second day of this week talking from the book Second Thessalonians. Today I'd like to continue in the first chapter and read two verses, verses 6 and part of 7. And here's what it says. In his justice, that's in the Lord's justice, he will pay back those who persecute you, and God will provide rest for you who are being persecuted. Well, let's start with the question of persecuted. What does that mean? Well, a lot of people feel like they're being persecuted. Whenever something doesn't go their way, you're picking on them. And I suppose for some that's true, but most of the time it's just hurt feelings or somebody who thinks that they should win all the time. Everything should go their way. And there are people like that. I'm sure you know them. I hope you're not. We all like to get our way. I mean, obviously, I'm comfortable with what I think ought to happen, but that doesn't mean that everybody else thinks that. But persecution means that you are being deliberately targeted because of something about you. Now, in this case, the context of this passage is Paul writing to the church at Thessalonica in a world where Christians were not revered, were not seen as good citizens, where Christians were not in the majority, and where living a Christian life was not what the culture asked for. Now, unfortunately, over history, we here in the United States have become accustomed to Christianity being the dominant religion. At some point, not too far in the past, if you weren't active in a church, you weren't going to get very far in society. It was a case where we Christians really were top dogs. Now, that's not true. Now, it is true Christianity is the largest participated in religion in the United States. But it is not true that most of the people in the United States are active Christians. So there's a tendency to think that because in the past things were, quote, Christian in our culture, and today they are not, we have discriminated or persecuted Christians. You hear that in the politics all the time today. It's really crazy. Um, Half, three quarters, most 90% of the stuff being said in that regard is just not true. It's just emotional beliefs because I want to be in charge again. And the truth of the matter is, they still are. I just don't want you to know that, I guess. I don't know. But persecution is to deliberately target you because of some characteristic that you hold. So Paul is talking to the Christians here who are being persecuted. It's several hundred more years before Rome, the emperor of Rome, decides to make Christianity the official religion of the empire. And he didn't do it because he wanted people to worship the eternal God. He did it because he thought that was the best chance to control people. So here Paul says these words. In his justice, he will pay back those who persecute you. Did you hear what it said there? Excuse me. In his justice, God's, He will pay back. An awful lot of people today think that they should pay back. There's a difference. Christianity, the being a Christian of the time of Thessalonica, was a religion of compassion and caring and even pacifism. All of the evidence we have in the first 2 centuries, anybody who was a Christian, who was a soldier, get it straight, and became a Christian, left being a soldier. Now, I know that doesn't set too well with a lot of folks today, but it was not an aggressive group who were trying to force their beliefs down everybody's throats. So to go back to the original start here is, just because you don't get your way doesn't mean you're being persecuted. Just because someone says, well, as a Christian, they're trying to eradicate you, doesn't mean that that's what's happening. But even if it were, okay, hear me? Even if that were going on, you and I don't have to get justice. God will. See, the neat thing is, I phrase it this way. We Christians cheat. We're not limited by our powers. God's powers are really the defining role in what happens in this world. And so what happens to me in the short run, while it might be unpleasant, certainly not my choice at times, God's way is still going to wind up. It says here, He will provide rest for you who are being persecuted. Whatever your situation comes up that you're struggling with, you don't have to get even. You don't have to make people shut up. All you have to do is rest, knowing with full confidence and without a doubt that God's going to have the last say. So when you face your world, maybe at work and something's not going right, God's still there. Maybe in your neighborhood when things aren't developing the way you had hoped, God's still working there. Maybe even in your family where things look pretty ugly at times, God's still working there too. Everywhere you go, for everyone who chooses to follow Him, He will give you rest. When you think about it, hope you come back tomorrow. Got another thought. Hope you have a really great day. If you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow. God bless you.